Now, there are a multitude of ways that one can improve their astrophotos. This month in February is all about us trying to teach you how you can do so. In this video, we're going to be talking about one of the most crucial ways that you can improve your astrophotos, and that is through calibration frames. Now, it's important to be able to look at your photo and determine what kind of calibration frame you need to integrate, but it's also extremely important to be able to take a proper calibration frame. In this video, I will be teaching you both. I'm Teagan from High Point Scientific. Thank you for tuning in. In this video, we're going to be discussing the two types of calibration frames that we deem the most important: flat frames and dark frames. Starting with flat frames. Now, flat frames are going to remove any vignetting, dust specks, dirt, any kind of artifact that you may see in a single subframe. Flats are going to be the calibration frame that you need to take to remove that. So let's take a look at an example image. If we take a look at this image here, we can see one thing that needs immediate fixing, and that is the vignetting. This is the light fall off towards the outside of the frame and resembles a dark circle. Now, vignetting is common if you're using a large sensor and a small focal reducer, or your filters are just a tad small. There's going to be that light fall off. That being said, flats should get rid of this completely if integrated and taken properly. In this image, you can clearly see dust specks and dark circles where the dirt has fallen on my sensor window and or my filters. They present themselves as opaque donuts. So if you see any donuts in your image, this means that they're lying on the sensor window, possibly your filters, or even your focal reducer. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to take a proper flat frame. The process of taking flat frames is extremely important, but it's rather simple once you get used to it. An evenly illuminated source of light is crucial. Sky flats are a great place to start. You want to take a white t-shirt, cover your aperture of your scope, and secure it with a rubber band. You want the t-shirt to be taut without any wrinkles over the aperture. Be sure to keep your camera orientation and your focus the exact same as it was during your imaging session. Point your scope directly upwards towards the sky. Avoid the sun at all costs. You can also use a flat panel instead of a t-shirt. This is a great way to take flats as well. So once you're pointed upward, you want to experiment with your exposure length. If you're using a DSLR, you want to expose long enough to the point where your histogram is displayed as 1/2 to 1/3 from the left. For dedicated astronomy camera users, typically an ADU of around 15,000 to 30,000 will suffice. Depending on your capture software, there should be an easy way for you to locate this ADU information to give you an idea if you need to increase or decrease your flat frame exposure. Now, like everything else in this hobby, this is all trial and error. You'll see what works and what doesn't work as you become more experienced in taking flat frames. Now let's talk about camera settings. Now, flat frames are not temperature or exposure time dependent. You do not have to take an exposure the same length or at the same temperature as your light frames. For flat frames, the only thing that matters is your gain or your ISO settings and the orientation of your camera. No matter what you do, do not rotate your camera. Adjust focus on your telescope when taking flat frames. If you think about it, flat frames need to be taken at the same level of focus, because if you have a donut in your image and you defocus it, that donut is going to get either bigger or smaller and your flat frames won't calibrate out correctly. Our advice to you is to take flat frames directly after your imaging session, preferably the next morning. Just if you have to pack your stuff up and bring it inside, leave your scope and your camera attached. Now, the second type of calibration frame that you've likely heard of are called dark frames. Now, dark frames are going to help reduce noise, they're going to reduce amp glow, and they're going to also help reduce hot pixels. So take a look at this example photo. This was taken with an ASI 294 monochrome cooled camera. Now you can see this glow. It kind of looks like a starburst appearing on the right side of the image. This is called amp glow and is inherent with some CMOS cameras. Dark frames, if taken correctly, should eliminate this completely. That being said, let's take a look at how to take dark frames. So when you're taking dark frames with a dedicated astronomy camera, you need to be sure that your dark frames match your light frames in gain and offset settings, exposure time, and ambient temperature of your sensor. That means if you cool your sensor to -10 degrees and you take a 300-second photo of Andromeda Galaxy at unity gain, that means your dark frames also have to be 300 seconds long, shot at unity gain, and cooled to -10 degrees ambient. We also recommend taking anywhere between 25 and 50 dark frames. Typically, the more the better. Now, if you do decide to take dark frames with your DSLR, it is important to note that you can't control the temperature of the sensor of a DSLR like you can with a cool dedicated astronomy camera. That means that you need to take your darks before or after each imaging session, because the temperature of the air around the camera is going to vary from night to night. Now, in some findings, dark frames are not actually necessary with the DSLR. In other people's experience, some say that dark frames have helped their images when they're using a DSLR. So we recommend that you try this out and see what kind of results you get, and then move forward taking or not taking dark frames depending on said results. So to take a dark frame with a cool dedicated camera, we recommend that you just leave the cap screwed onto the camera sensor itself. This is going to prevent any light leak. Go ahead and plug it into your computer and keep it left out in a place with open ventilation. Now, you can use those dark frames every single time that you take an astrophoto. You just have to make sure that every imaging session from there on out, those light frames match your dark frames. Again, at the end of this video, I've provided you with a quick chart on things to consider for taking flat frames and dark frames. If that doesn't help, take a look in the description below, as I provided you with a link to an article that tells you in a bit more detail how to take these calibration frames. We thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any comments or questions, please let us know in the comments below. We'll be more than happy to help. Please remember to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you do not miss any of the future videos, especially those in February if you want to improve your astrophotos, because next week's video is going to be a crucial one. Thank you so much, and clear skies.